very passionate arguments. So I want to start off with Ozzy's great little speech about how PETA, I diminished my own argument. Why I said that is because PETA is known for going over the board, that all animals need to be conserved, that there should be no such thing as butter being made from cows or cheese or meat. But they are animal rights. They do protect the animal rights, but there should be a happy medium, as in all cases, Let's have a middleman, one that understands that animals do need to be protected. Well, let's not take it to the extremes where we can't have our cheese. And also, I think it was Ian who said that, it was Ozzy actually, who said, oh, our animals are fine because there's groups like PETA and everything. Well, if you look at PETA, their #1 article for the week is why zoos are bad and why they are prisons. So that cancels. Going back to Ian, talking about how being in the zoo and banging your chin on a bar is much better than being chased down by a wild animal. These animals are trying to kill themselves. Do you get that? That they're trying to kill themselves. They'd rather die than be in an enclosure. They'd rather die than, sit there every single day and have food thrown at them. As Ozzy said, is a great life. Just 400 pounds of meat a day, that's great. But that's also where we're wasting our money. Let's stop wasting our money there. Let's stop feeding these animals by hand when they're supposed to be in the wild. They're supposed to be running. Let's also talk about the breeding programs and how they're such a great thing, apparently. Well, breeding programs are actually disgusting because what they do is they force animals. You guys have heard about puppy mills. They literally force the animals to breed. And yes, zoos are not that dramatic to where they force them to just constantly reproduce. But they do have that to where Maurice the giraffe, as Brianna said, was a male giraffe and he was publicly killed, euthanized. It's called euthanasia, to where they actually kill the animals when they're incapable of reproducing. Alright, did you know that many women have their parts taken out so they can't reproduce? Should we kill them? And you're going to say, well, oh, that's a woman, this is an animal. They have rights just as much as we do, as Ozzy said. So, let's stop euthanasia. That's just, you think that'd be common sense not to have, just to kill animals, just because they're not too used to us anymore. And that's what's wrong with our society today. We are so into just having everything quickly and to our advantage. We don't think about others around us and even the animals around us. It's ridiculous. And also about extinction and animals are killed more in the wild. Then explain why the African elephant lives 3 times longer when he is left alone. That is because animals suffer actually as we do muscular dystrophy, and that is when they're not getting enough exercise every day because they're in cages. Don't get me wrong, there's places like Santa Ana Zoo, the LA Zoo, they have great little enclosures, but that doesn't matter. It's like giving us a bigger room than what we have and saying, well, that's more space for you, but that's still not adequately enough to enjoy our life the way we were meant to be. Animals are called wild animals for a reason because they're supposed to be in the wild. They're not supposed to be in cages for our entertainment. And then also orcas by the Japanese, how they're hunted and killed. Yeah, that's another issue that we have. But the thing is, look at SeaWorld. I mean, how many of those baby orcas were ripped away from their mom as infants, and forced to spend their lives in cages running and swimming in circles? It's just as bad, so, don't point fingers unless you can look at yourself. And how Ian said how children don't pay attention. There's a problem with that. Let's make our children pay attention and let's help them realize, let's raise our future generation. Let's not diminish them. Let's not belittle them. Let's raise them to be that, you can learn by going to a zoo. Let's create enclosures where they can learn and they can better themselves in their education. In Jurassic Park, yeah, damn straight there's not a Jurassic Park. I hope there's not. That's hella creepy. But the thing is, there is things called museums, and that's where you go to learn about dinosaurs, learn about prehistoric animals. Let's have enclosures where you can go and you can learn about these animals, at your own leisure. And also, we're not endangering animals at it. It just doesn't make sense how, we're in such a society where it's okay to let others suffer for our own entertainment. And also, lastly, how it's stupid to release animals back into the wild. Yes, it is. After they've been in captivity, they're not supposed to go out into the wild because they don't know how. That gorilla doesn't know how to feed her young. Guarantee she doesn't know how to hunt for herself either. But that's where natural reserves come in place. That's where they're weaned from being in a small cage into an enclosure. Like Kenya, natural reserves, what they are is land and it's space to where it's just enclosed, but it's miles and acres of land, what they're supposed to have on the daily. That's what they need to be released back into, and it helps them grow and it helps them actually recover from the stress that they endured in the zoo. So thank you.